Whilst I was reporting on the uprising turned conflict in Damascus, I was called up for the military service by the regime, and that forced me to swiftly flee. And unexpectedly, I found myself a refugee in less than 24 hours. And it was on the 29th of August 2012 when I fled my country for the first time. And although I left my home, the conflict in Syria has never really left my thoughts. Now, Lebanon is the closest to reach in emergency departure. So the thought I had was just leaving the country before I conscripted in the army. So I had the thought that in the course of months I'd be back into a dictatorship-free Syria. So I took a yellow taxi with 3 other passengers from Al Sumaraya bus station in western Damascus. And on the way to Lebanon, we were stopped by several regime checkpoints. It was up on the highway. And on every checkpoint, they'd ask passengers to show their identification cards. And every time I stopped at the checkpoint, I thought that, I was going to be picked up, for being a wanted soldier or something. After I escaped all the checkpoints, we arrived at the border for passport control. So while waiting for my passport, I went and hid in the bathrooms of the border. And then I could just watch the whole scene from a distance. And, thinking if maybe they came out to arrest me and take me to the army, that would be terrible. I got rid of some of my memories about the revolution and freedom by tearing out papers and throwing them in the toilet. I binned my interview notebook, which had all of my interview notes inside Syria. Just tearing out the materials, it really felt like tearing off pieces of my heart, my involvement in the uprising and the legacy. And it was the food of the history that I was and wanted to be part of making,
Everyone tries to leave now. No bag, no money. I found someone to drive 6 hours to the border, to Bab al-Hawa. And then I walked over as I had a passport. Bab al-Hawa is the door between Syria and Turkey. Everyone goes this way. We had some friends who met us and took us to the house to eat and sleep. Then I took the bus to Istanbul with 6 others. I stayed 2 days trying to find out how to get to Greece. If you have money, easy. But I don't have any money. A friend who lives in Lebanon sent me money and I found a boat for 100 euros. The smuggler talks to you, they make it sound easy. They give you coffee, say you will go on good boat. I left my passport with my friend in Istanbul so it stays safe. We left at night on a small boat, maybe 2 meters with 16 people. It took 6 hours. It's very dangerous. I saw one boat go down. The seaway is very dangerous. We arrived in a wood and stayed 1 day, then someone arrived and took us to Athens.
In Athens, I found a hotel where many Syrians were. I paid a lot of money to get an identity card that looked 80 or 90% like me. It is not easy, but that is their job. I also paid for a plane ticket. I paid them to do everything. The plane is just for lucky people. All my friends could not travel by airplane. They are traveling by ship. It is very expensive. All the Syrian people sold their houses. If you're lucky, you can sell your house. Most Syrians now in Europe have no house to return to. This man made the reservation and did the online check-in. All I did was take the ticket and the ID to the one who controlled before boarding the plane. I was lucky to pass it. When I get on the plane, I still feel very unsafe. I have many friends who have been arrested on the airplane. When we took off, I was very happy.
So arriving in Lebanon, I stayed at a friend's place for 2 days. I was lucky to sleep in a bed. It was completely different from other visits, though. I felt like I was stuck and I couldn't go back. It was a refuge, not really a nice place to be for me. I thought the fresh political opening atmosphere of Egypt would suit me better. So actually, in addition to that, the woman I loved was intending to go to Egypt. So that was also a great reason to travel there. And then I arrived in Cairo, pleased that I made it so far. And I stayed in a hotel called Luna. The hotel was cheap and rough. I had the feeling that I was on the run. My feelings were mixed, and there was this hope of returning and the current state of homelessness. I was and have been a man with no address. But for the first time, I convinced myself that I was a refugee and, registered with the UN refugee office in Alexandria. This felt, of course, like a huge transformation in my life.
Then I got a boat to Italy. It was bigger wooden boat as it takes 2 days. We didn't have any food, only water, and maybe 80 to 100 people. The water was very cold and came into the boat, and the waves were maybe 1 or 2 meters, very scary and very dangerous. The people who took us have no heart. We arrived near Catania, and I got the train to Rome and then to Milan. I used the money my friend gave me. I put it in plastic and in my shoe. I then got a train from Milan to Paris. It was a good way, but between Italy and France, the police caught me. They saw my broken jackets and that I'm Arabic and knew straight away. They asked my passport and I told them I didn't have one and that I was from Syria. They kept me at the police station for 1.5 days, took my fingerprints, and then they just let me go. I didn't have any money, but I managed to get on a train again to Paris. When I arrived, the ticket officer gave me to the police. They took me again for 1 day or 16 hours. Again, they took my fingerprints and then let me go. I found an Arabic shop in the station and I said I wanted to go to Calais, and after the owner knew I was from Syria, he bought me a train ticket, alhamdulillah.
When I arrived in Calais, I was very sorry I came. I have now decided I will go back to Denmark. I cannot wait on the border like other Syrian people for 4 or 5 months to arrive in the United Kingdom. I've been staying in hotels, but there are problems. When I walk in the street, I feel like I'm from another world. French people, in general, are kind, but in Calais, they don't respect us. The Syrian people, they're homeless, they sleep in the park, the police have destroyed all the camps here. You cannot leave us in the parks like animals. Sometimes I feel like I am insect. They neglect everything we need. When I go to a cafe, I feel like they do not respect me. When I go to a hotel, they always say it is full because they think we're dirty. It takes a lot of time and money to get to UK. Nothing is guaranteed. It depends on your luck. Your chances are about 10%. The UK is not the paradise to wait for 3 months. It's a good country, but there are many choices for Syrian people. 27 countries will give us refuge. The UK is not only choice for me. It has been a hard journey. Sometimes I wish I had stayed in Turkey, not because Europe is bad, but because I feel lonely here. Europe is just a safe place. It just gives me food and a house, but not more. In my dreams, I will return to Syria. But I have discovered countries. I prefer to visit all European countries, 27, but it is expensive, so I choose what is suitable for me.
Then I wanted to come closer to Syria. The idea is like to be an agent of change in my country. So I started sending CVs for jobs in Turkey, particularly in Gaziantep, southeast Turkey at the border with Syria. And after becoming a refugee, there's no place I can call home. So wherever I go, it's a hotel for me or temporary accommodation. But now I have a flat that I furnished. I bought for a fridge, beds, a washing machine. But I'm already concerned about moving again. I have little faith that I would ever be settled again.
At Lille, the police catch me again. He drove me out of Lille, far away, and just left me. It took me 2 hours to walk back to the station. I took the train to Calais. I found a place in a tent here. People are here 2, 3, 4 months and they never cross. When you're in Calais, you'll be in England. Everyone say in 1, 2 months you will have work in England. I'm just looking for a job and somewhere to make a family. I don't want to be a rich man. I just want to sleep good and eat good and work. My dream was just to get out of Syria. But after, when you meet friends, they say the UK is a good place, you can work. I speak English, so maybe it's easy to find a job. If you ask me if I would like to go, I would say no. I would stay in Syria and die. If you ask me what about Turkey, I would say it's more safe.
The police asked me a lot of questions, and then they took me to the home office to answer some more questions. Then they asked me some questions, and I was very tired, hungry, and frightened. Every 2 hours or so, they would let you out with a number. Number 17, you would go to room 17, and you would be asked different questions. Then a different room with a different number, with some more questions. You know, this could happen for 5 or 6 times in one day. So what happened? They found out that I had fingerprints in Cyprus, so they said Cyprus was an option for me. First, I was in a hotel in West Croydon. When they removed me to a removal center called Tinsley House, I think it's near an airport. From there, after 15 days, they sent me to Hampshire, a center. I don't know the name, but then one day they said Cyprus told them that they don't want you back. Now they have to go and ask Italy. So after 2 or 3 days, I was released. Then they took me to an immigrant center called Angel Lodge in Wakefield, near Leeds. Then they gave me the room in this house in Middlesbrough. I have 5 months to remain, so I cannot work, but they give me £36 a week, and I have to go to the police station every Tuesday.
Bab el Hawa to Gaziantep. I stay 2 weeks. After this, I go to Istanbul. After Istanbul, I go to Greece. In Athens, I stay 2 months. After Athens, I go to Italy. After this, I go to Roma. After Roma, Sicily. After this, I go to Roma. I stay in Roma 2 months. I working in fruit. After this, I go to Austria. I stay 1 week. It's no good. It's very cold. Racism. I come back to Italy. I go to France, Switzerland. I stay Switzerland, Geneva, Basel. 1 month working with someone from Palestine, painting, decorating. After this, I go to Luxembourg. I stay 3 days. After this, I go to Belgium. I stay in Belgium 2 months. After this, I go to Antwerp. After this, I go to hospital. I stay 2 months. After this, I go to Netherlands. I stay in Amsterdam 1 month. I working with someone from Egypt in a coffee shop. After this, I go to Germany, Hamburg. I stay in Hamburg 1 month. I go to Berlin 1 month. After Berlin, I come back to Hamburg. I go to Augsburg. After this, I go to Denmark. After this, I go to Copenhagen. I stay in Copenhagen 1 month. After this, I go to Sweden. I stay in Stockholm. After this, I go to Malmo, and I stay in Malmo maybe 1 year. I working in restaurant 16 hour. I have 20 euro. After this, I go to Oslo. I working good, but racism. Government difficult. I'm a refugee in Sweden, but no good. I stay 1 year. After this, I come back to Germany and Belgium and France. I stay in Calais 10 days.